Wow, these figure pictures are absolutely stunning. Figure photography. I've got to figure out how this magic is done. An hour with EXKurogane, a figure photographer extraordinaire and a figure review YouTuber as well. One of the hardest working content creators that I know. But before we begin, I want to give a sincere shout out to all the loyal fans who are supporting us through Patreon. We've reached the 5th milestone already. That means that I can begin to hand back stuff to you that you've been calling out for. Even £1 a month makes a significant difference because, as you know, YouTube doesn't give us content creators diddly squat. So supporting your favourite content creators means a lot. Especially because I'm trying to create the biggest and best weeb community that's ever existed. The most interactive experience. The platform is almost ready, launching at the end of the month. More interactive content than you can imagine, and for £1 a month you can join live on the Miyazaki Man Podcast, you can be a contestant on the Miyazaki Man Game Show, figuring it out, and much more goodies. Keep in touch. Life in Japan with the Miyazaki Man Podcast edition with EXKurogane. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Miyazaki Man Podcast. I'm delighted to be joined today by my favourite anime photographer. He has his own blog, his own website, his own YouTube as well, EXKurogane. Stephen, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Hi everyone.
Absolutely.
I'm Steven, otherwise better known as EXKurogane online. Yeah, and I'm a figure photographer, anime figure specifically.
Indeed. And all your photos, all your setup, your production value, it looks so professional as well. Do you have like your own studio where you take all these shoots of figures?
Okay, all these years for the past 9 years, 9 years by now, I've been doing a makeshift photo studio of some kind. Most of them were taken at my home actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So it could be in my bedroom or on a balcony.
Very
Yeah.
And especially because you're based in Malaysia, right? So it must be some kind of beautiful views all around, yeah? That's really cool. So what I think is actually really interesting to all the fans is because there's so many people in the world that collect figurines and, you know, as a hobby and display piece, but I don't think many people have the kind of ideas or techniques or experience to really capture the beauty of the figurines and, you know, with the lighting and composition, and that's something that you're really good at.
Yeah, actually, you see, most of the way we share our hobby with everyone else is to display them out of box and so on. But I don't really have that luxury because of space issues. So I figured that the way I could share the beauty of these figures with everyone is to give them a really good photography work so that people can appreciate them more.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
That completely makes sense. And I think all your work is really appreciated because you have a following on Instagram, on Facebook groups, on My Figure Collection, on the YouTube as well. So yeah, let me know about like the kind of start of your journey. So when you first decided to do the photography venture to display these figurines, what did you start with? What was the initial idea, and which platforms gave you the most kind of views?
Yeah, actually, before I started collecting figures, I was into Gunpla, Gundam model kits. And then,
Gunpla,
yeah, I still have some kits in my cabinet. And then, by the time during my earliest years in college, where I was exposed to things like Wonder Festival.
Yes.
And then I also viewed all these coverages online and in Danny Chu's website and so on. And I was quite attracted to all these figures. It's like they look so beautiful.
Indeed,
yeah. And then when you collect figures, you want to know what is good and what is not that good. So you go for reviews. And this is where I came across this blog called tentaclearmada.com.
I know
you know about it? Yes, and I was quite captivated by his photos, to be honest. And I wanted to do the same. Yes. So a lot of my initial journey, my early journey, where I focused a lot of lighting, that's the basics of photography. I copied his style. In fact, if you look at my photos and his photos, the style, the way we do our lighting, there are some similarities to it. It was based on his work.
Sure.
And the way I differentiate myself is to create a specific scene for every single figure where it can match the theme or the character of the figure itself. It has to match.
Character. Yes.
Yeah. So I started from there. I did things in college. Initially during my early days, I think almost everyone, we started with smartphone cameras, and then we slowly move on to a more proper camera, and over time you upgrade as you get better, or you have more demands, you want something better, then you keep upgrading. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And nowadays, smartphone cameras are so advanced.
Yeah. So I do not deny that smartphone cameras are excellent nowadays. In fact, I've gotten quite a number of great photos of people and landscape sceneries. But then for figure photography specifically, not ideal, to be honest. You can, but not ideal. Yeah, because the way the lenses that were built into these smartphone cameras, they are not ideal for figure photography.
Makes sense. So in terms of like the smartphone cameras, obviously when you're going out and about, the portability is really good. But when you're in your kind of studio and you want to take your real kind of detailed pictures of the figurines, then you go with like a mirrorless camera, like a proper lens setup and that kind of thing, right?
Yes. So of course, me being an Asian with Asian parents, they were quite against it initially. They were quite against me buying a camera for fear that it might affect my studies in college. I might get distracted. That is their logic, right? But but I went ahead anyway. And then, as for the platforms you asked earlier, I was a long-time member of myfigurecollection.net way before I was a photographer, because I used MFC as more like a reference or a guideline to check out the release dates of figures.
Sure, makes sense.
Release dates, And of course, view other users' photos just to get a rough idea of whether the figure is actually good or not, and so on. There are many ways to use MFC. And then when I saw the MFC user base is quite large, and there's this picture of the day thing every day on the front page, I thought of using this very platform itself to promote my work. That was how I started. And Facebook pages will follow much later, I think a year or two later. So I was pursuing for this POTD award, just because it is basically free advertisement of some kind.
Absolutely, on the front page.
Yes.
And your quality work, right? Your quality work, so really draws people in.
So the way MFC works is that the unfortunate part of it is that it is voted by people. So people do not necessarily vote for a high quality photograph. They tend to vote for what character they like.
Got character? Or what kind of sexy latest craze or fad?
Yes, and sometimes, I mean, you have seen it so often where room pictures end up on the front page, things like that. So not necessarily great photography works will end up on the front page. That is the reality of it. But anyways, it is still a great way to promote your work.
Indeed. Yes. And because you've used all of the platforms so far, I'm pretty sure that all of the different platforms have evolved and changed for better or for worse during your journey in photography and trying to promote. So tell me about some of the good things that happened that really helped you out, and what are some of the negative changes that really impacted?
So with myfigurecollection.net, during my earlier days, my first 5 years, things were a lot better. And there were more like highly skilled photographers back then that compared to today. There were a lot more then. And a lot of them left because, as we grow up from college students to working adults, we have more priorities elsewhere, and then we started to become less active. A lot of people go through the same process.
Indeed.
So a lot of the skilled photographers, which are like my senpais today, they would have been very much less active there. They are busy people.
Of course.
And then I would, by year 2016 to 2018, during those 2 or 3 years, I've been scooping up every single award imaginable, and it kind of made some people mad, thinking that I was manipulating things or what. But I think that was the best period at MFC during 2016 to 2018. And because they don't only have the picture of the day, they have of the week and of the month as well. Also I'm scooping up like 4 or 5 of POTM's months in a year.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it was actually, you don't really gain anything from it other than advertisement for your own works.
Exposure.
And from there, from there you bring traffic to your Facebook page, to your Instagram, and so on. That's how you get the followers.
Yeah, makes sense. And do you therefore feel like the pressure to keep adding figures to your My Figure Collection page? So when people like look onto your profile page, they can see, wow, you now own another 2, another 3, another 4, which means more reviews and more figures are going to be photographed and reviewed coming soon.
Actually, the number of figures that I own, that is like the very least of my priorities, to be honest. Yeah, because this is a very expensive hobby, photography, which is why there are not many people doing it in the first place. Yeah. So sometimes some of the figures, there are cases where I buy a figure just to photograph it and then I would sell it shortly after. There have been occasions like this in the past. Yeah, I do that a lot in the past actually. And nowadays, I've been focusing a lot more on FGO, Fate Grand Order figures, because I love the franchise. Yeah.
Indeed.
And regarding on the less favorable part about social media in general, because anything that is meta, from Facebook to Instagram, things have been getting worse since 2 or 3 years ago because of how they play with algorithms. They are focused on short videos and reels and so on. I'm not a fan of short videos because, let's say you want to create something informative, a tutorial, can be photography tutorial or something else. It is very hard to cram enough information into that short period.
Indeed. And
yeah.
audience as well, isn't it? It's ones who want just quick, snappy, constant, like TikTok, right? Just scroll and it's not one to absorb the detailing, the kind of detailed method. Yeah.
Because videos, these short videos, it can be YouTube. Short videos like YouTube or TikTok, right? People tend to view them during their lunchtime at work, where they don't have to invest too much time into watching something. So they tend to be more entertainment oriented, something funny, something interesting, and so on. Yes. So something that is educational is actually quite at a disadvantage, to be honest. Which is why when I do figure reviews, when I think about it, YouTube is the best way to do it, and maybe perhaps in future Bilibili. I've explored that option as well, but we will see, because that is a lot of work.
Indeed. To handle so many social media channels, it's definitely spreading yourself quite thin, because you've got to advertise on the places where the people congregate and gather, to get exposure, but then to actually make quality content and actually keep constantly like up to date and look as though you're active on so many different platforms. It's a big time commitment and effort commitment, isn't it? So and the thing with social media, especially Instagram, they expect you to upload something almost every day or almost every 2 days. I think YouTube also has an algorithm where you need to upload a minimum of 1 video a week, ideally 2 a week, so that the algorithm likes you more and puts your stuff on the front page, So it can be difficult in the sense that when social media expects you to upload very frequently, it means that you need to create content in using a less amount of time, right? And when you rush something out, usually the quality is not good. That's correct, yes.
So the unfortunate part is that the way Instagram is working nowadays, it is indirectly encouraging mediocrity, which is something I don't really like. I like to take my time and invest into doing something properly and try to make it as perfect as possible. Yeah,
I completely understand, because like, for example, platforms like Instagram and especially TikTok, right, they believe that the more content that's on the platform, the richer the asset, the bigger the ecosystem. But it's actually quality content for us and for the fans that people care about. But the platform is just interested in the numbers, how many additional videos, how many more chances to expose the adverts and whatnot. So it's a bit of a conflict there, and it's difficult, especially when you're busy, right? You're busy life, you're working, you might have family, you've got your job and other stuff, and to meet the demands of the algorithm, otherwise your thing just won't even get shown, no matter how good it is.
Yes, that's the unfortunate part, because they need to appease to the advertisers and all the partners. It's all about money in the end.
Commercialized, yes. Yeah, so you made a very interesting point earlier about sometimes you bought figures just to take your photography, make the content, and then sell on later. So are these like expensive things, or are they more like price figures and things that you can easily shift on?
I've done both as well, both price figures and scales. There I do the same thing to a certain number of scales too, just because I have like an amazing idea in mind, a composition. You can see the final photograph in your mind already, and you want it to be realized. So you go ahead and buy it anyway, and then you sell it later. Yeah. all because I wanted to create that photographic work of that very figure.
Yeah, the idea, kind of making that idea a reality, and then showing people, this beautiful composition, the idea you have in mind, and it also adds to your portfolio, your content portfolio, so that you can say, look, I've got this collection or this set from Fate Grand Order, these guys together, or this set, or they go really nicely together. I've captured that image and that kind of thing. And then, if you're not in love with that character or that figure itself, but you've made the content, then why not let someone else enjoy it, right? I'm just thinking on the money side of it. Do you find you have to take a slight small loss?
Yes.
But the fact that you've made the content is more value in itself, right?
Yes, that's correct. It's like you want your own vision to be realized as an actual photograph and actual product, no matter the cost.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Opportunity cost of it. So, like, when you are taking your kind of photography and your content videos, so you being an absolute expert in composition, in lighting, in lenses, what would you say are the top 5 most important things when you're trying to capture that composition that really affect the quality of the work? Would you say it's the actual equipment, like the camera and the lens itself? Would you say it's more about the lighting, or would you say it's more about the scenery and just making sure that the actual idea comes to mind? What are the most important things when you're capturing that perfect piece?
Okay, so the very first thing I realized from the get-go when I see photographs from other blogs like Tentacle Armada, the very first thing I realized is that lighting is everything. Yeah, so with lighting, it does not necessarily have to be expensive, but you need to know the technique. For example, you can go for study lamps, table lamps. It will work as well. Usually, I would just go for any lamp that uses an E27 mount, the screw mount, so that it is universal. You can use a lot of different types of bulbs on it, LEDs or halogen bulbs with different colors even. Yeah. And the second option that I tend to use a lot are LED lights. LED lights. So with LED, there is a problem where not every LED are the same. Some of the cheaper ones, they tend to look a bit bluish, although it is white light, but you can see there's a bluish tint over there. Yeah. So when you take a photograph, even with a phone, you can see the photo shifts towards blue color.
Sure.
Yeah.
Indeed, yeah.
Yes. So with lighting, you need to learn how to shape it and control it. Usually what I recommend is to get a very bright bulb, and then you put diffusers in front. Diffuser is like a photographic term for a filter in front of your light where it softens the light. It can be just a simple sheet of A4 paper or even tissue paper, any white color material in front of the light. Just doing that will soften the light.
Right.
This is just the first step. If you have seen photographers, let's say in cosplay events, when they use flashes, there's a white color plastic cap in front of the flash.
I see.
That is a diffuser. Yes, that is a diffuser. Yeah, you do the same to steady lights, to table lamps, and so on. And when you just blast a light source onto a figure, that is uncontrolled light. Other than diffusers, you need to shape the light. So this is where maybe you partially block the light so that it only lands on the figure and nowhere else, so you can get a darker background. I think you can imagine that, right? So whenever you obstruct, whenever you block a light source, a shadow follows behind it.
Yes.
So you need to shape the light.
Wow,
these are the basics.
A lot of things to think about. So not just like all of the techniques of the light itself, but what about like the placement of the lights? Because I've seen people bounce the light off like a background. I've seen people behind the figure to kind of expose it to create a kind of blurred effect.
Yes, that is the reflector method, which I use a lot in studio. Sometimes I just use a face mirror a cosmetic mirror. So with cosmetic mirrors, there are two sides usually. One is a normal view, and the other side is like a convex mirror where it magnifies your face.
Yes.
Both different mirrors, they will create different effects when you reflect light off it, and you need to know how to use it.
Yes.
Otherwise, can use the kitchen foil, aluminium foil, which we use for baking. That is also an excellent reflector material. Yeah.
These tips,
yeah, you need to be.
Everyone will appreciate these tips. You know.
You need to be resourceful. Because all these lighting techniques, right? They are actually not expensive if you know how to make use of daily items and incorporate it into your lighting setup.
Very good. Yeah, cheap but effective. They work. They do what they need to do.
Yes.
Yeah, you just need to know.
So the saying goes, as long it works, it is not stupid. yeah. So
love it.
This is how. So no matter how detailed your diorama is, your scenery is, right? If the lighting is not there, in the end the result will just look bad.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So actually, if you want to do dioramas and so on, you should. Yeah, it is a nice thing to do, but that is not the priority initially. You need to master the basic lighting first. And for composition, the best way to do it, to get kind of a vision of how a photograph should look like, right? And artwork even, the best way is to see other people's works. Yeah, for me, I save a lot of digital artworks from online to use as reference material.
Of course.
And when I watch anime, I play games and so on, I capture lots of screenshots as reference.
I can completely understand, because you get the reference material from the games, from the anime, from other people's work, and you can kind of imitate the style. You get ideas from it. You can kind of see the composition, and you can kind of add your own flavor. You can capture it in the same way, but obviously with your setup, with your camera, of your figures, and exposed in your kind of content portfolio, and it really just adds to the diversity and the kind of variety that you can do in terms of figure photography and capturing the kind of scene and mood. And I think that's the real way to grow, really. You see people who have done it correctly, done it well, and try to take and learn as much as you can, right? Always bettering yourself.
Yes, and what you need to understand with dioramas, right, or sceneries that you set up, is that setting up a diorama to be displayed to the public, let's say in a convention, is different from setting up one from photography. They're different. So sometimes when you set up something for display purposes, you go by logic, where let's say kitchen set, let's say you have a kitchen set with a maid figure in the center, you tend to arrange the furniture in a very logical manner, like how a normal kitchen would look like. But then in photography, sometimes you make decisions where it does not make sense. Maybe the walkway is either too wide or too narrow, or the furniture arrangement doesn't make sense, but then in the name of composition, you have to arrange it that way.
Sure. And do you find like sometimes you capture a amazing photo, but by accident, just trial and error and trying different ways that even if it's not logical, just seeing what the end result would turn out, and by accident you find like, wow, that actually really works, and kind of just by trial and error, not the original composition, you've managed to capture something really beautiful in the end just by playing around with all the equipment and the setup.
Yes, sometimes you do need trial and error, because not necessarily what you have in mind will turn out the way you like. So there is indeed some trial and error involved sometimes, and what I normally do is my camera will be on the tripod, and then with the screen turned on behind, and then I look at the screen while I move all the objects around and see how it fits inside the frame. So you kind of build the composition on the spot. Sometimes you do that.
Indeed. And one of the tips I got as well, and I'm not sure what I'll ask for your opinion on this. So the Philips smart kind of light set. So I've got two Philips smart bars where you can change the kind of mood and lighting and colors and whatnot. How would be best place to use those two light stands to really highlight a figure? Because I find the colors from them are really strong. So maybe a diffuser in the first instance, would you bounce it against the background? Would you light it from behind? How would I use these Philips light bars? I think I've got one down here. These ones.
Oh, those are amazing. You know, we call that that looks like a light bar, right? The light bar is excellent for what? Yeah, we call it rim lighting. Rim lighting is something I really love doing.
Yes. So the only lights I've got at the moment are these light bars, but also my table lamp clock has like just a different light setting, so I use this sometimes.
Okay.
And it's convenient.
Okay, so hold on a second. Let me show you what you can do with a rim light. Yeah, I have examples over here.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so what I have over here. Yep, this one.
This is the secret portfolio. Wow.
Yeah, this. I have been told that this photograph looks human, does not look like a figure. This is just one single light source coming from the window on the side. So yeah, this is what we call a rim light. RIM, rim light.
Yes.
So what a rim light does is that it's usually fired from behind the figure, so you can outline the figure, the curves of the figure. This is something I love doing a lot. Yeah.
Very clear, very clear. You can see the outline, the kind of shapes, and this completely speaks to me because I love my bum and my pantsuit and my tights, but the curvature, the softness, the suppleness. Yeah, so this is definitely the kind of thing I want to capture.
Okay, so this kind of technique, this is something we call rim light, and yeah, something I love doing a lot.
I'm loving this one-on-one education. This is a 101 on how to capture very nice photos, but also that was very sexy and appealing as well. So I'm very appreciative of that.
So usually we have two light sources where you have one light from the front where you brighten up the face of the figure, and then there will be at least a second light from behind at an angle, so you can outline the shape of the figure. That is what we call a rim light. Yeah, and a rim light is usually you want it to be narrow. You have to narrow it. You have to partially block the light so that it only lands on the figure and nowhere else, not in the background. So you maintain that dark background. Ah,
I see. So that completely makes sense. That completely makes sense because if you don't do that, then that's why when you capture it with a photo, it all appears light and you've ruined the kind of mood and feeling because
correct.
Okay. It's all making sense.
It is actually exactly the same as what portrait photographers do when they photograph real human beings, real models. We are just downsizing it for figures actually.
I see. The same concepts apply, but just different scale.
Yes, correct.
Wow, fascinating. And how long did it take you to pick up all of this knowledge in terms of lighting photography? I'm assuming, right, you've got a different profession, a different career, so you're not a full-time photographer.
No, photography is strictly only a hobby at the moment. There have been cases, there have been occasions where I took up some freelance work like event photography just to earn a small side income, but photography has never been my career. I'm actually a dentist.
Oh, big gap, but very technical and very good with your hands as well, and lighting to light inside the mouth. It's making sense somewhat. Actually, speaking of which, I can't remember if I told you a few weeks ago when we started DMing, but I had 3 wisdom tooth taken out, right, including 2 impacted wisdom tooth, and I was like, oh no, I'm thinking the recovery period is going to be a bit nasty here, and I ended up getting some like ulcers and other stuff as well. So definitely I was on the pain medication for at least 2 weeks, but thankfully now I'm more spick and span, all good.
So the thing with wisdom tooth, that is very common, impacted wisdom tooth.
And I think what I went with was, because they wanted to take the 2 impacted one out and the top one here, which is the only other one I've got left, I thought if I take them all out at the same time, that means the pain and duration will be shorter. It'll be painful, but then it'll be recovered quicker. Whereas I had the choice to take them out one by one, but then I thought it will take longer before I completely feel okay. What would you recommend? All in one go or one by one?
Okay, yeah, so it depends really. There are some indications where if all 3 teeth, if you want a shorter amount of pain, then yes, you go into the surgical room under general anesthesia, you take out all at once. But yeah, the recovery will be a bit of a torture or suffering, given that you have stitches on both sides, so it'll be quite difficult to eat. Yeah, and then for some people, they choose to take out. Yeah. And for some people, they choose to take out one by one because they don't intend to take out all of them in the first place. So yeah, in some cases, for some cases where some people they only take out one side because that side is worse than the other side, in the sense that it's causing them problems on a daily basis or weekly basis, where the problem of swollen gums keep coming back. So they want to get rid of only that one side. The other side is not causing issues. They want to leave it because these surgeries, they have their own risk. We don't want to accidentally injure a nerve.
Yes, you're right.
Yes, I think your dentist might have told you about that. So when you take out wisdom teeth, there is always the risk of damaging a nerve. So for some people, they don't want that risk, so they will only take out that 1 or 2 tooth that is causing problems and leave out the rest.
Yeah, makes sense. Like, I think the one they recommended me was more preemptive because they were so deep down and impacted, they were like touching the bottom of the molars there. They thought in the future it could potentially cause some damage or problems, so it's better to preemptively take them out. But the only the really thing I regretted was after I took them out, right, I thought this is my only chance to enjoy something a little bit while the anesthetic is still on, so I tried to eat a little bit of pizza afterwards, and that was the worst idea ever. That was terrible. I was suffering. Yeah, but that's actually really interesting. You can give like consultancy advice on photography, on figure dioramas and panoramic views and capturing the figure collections, and on dentistry and teeth and mouth mechanics as well. You have 2 very interesting, unrelated, but I can see the crossover, really interesting topics that you're an expert on.
Well, I am a dentist today. Well, just because it actually funds my hobby. So yeah,
That is perfect.
yeah.
Sure. So the ambition, the dream isn't then to like own your own dentist practice in the future. It's more to fund the hobby and to keep going.
Yeah. I'm not someone with very high, how do I put it, high ambitions for dentistry, like, opening your own clinic or own specialist practice. That is not actually my main goal. Yeah, so I think there was this anime called Gate, I think Gate, Gate. Yeah, and basically this guy Itami, I'm the same as him in the way that just want to make money to fund the hobby and the interest.
That's adult life, isn't it? You gotta work to buy what you want to buy, right?
Yeah,
indeed. So what is the dream then? What is the long-term dream? What is the ambition?
So this thing with YouTube, right? I just started back in late 2020 amidst the pandemic. Wanted to try something different because by then I think I was a bit, or I would say rather burned out from photography. And yeah, I was beginning to run out of space as well, with all the props piling up, not just figures. So I wanted to try something different, and I considered doing YouTube. My YouTube has existed since like 7 or 8 years ago, but it wasn't a proper channel. It was more like a place for me to host a video so that I can embed it somewhere else. Yeah. So I only started. So I only thought of starting a proper channel in late 2020, and hopefully in future, maybe a few years down the road, can generate some side income. Monetize it. And the fastest way to flood the channel with content is to do figure reviews because I have a lot of figures in the first place, and I'm buying some every month. So with photography tutorials, that was the original goal of my YouTube channel. But photography tutorials, for one, they are extremely difficult to prepare, to film in general. They are very time consuming. So it is not a good way to build a channel from tutorials alone, because you're combining two different niche hobbies, one photography and figure collecting, and your potential audience, people who will watch your stuff, is even much lesser because it is so niche. So you start out with a wider, something that will appeal to a wider audience base, which is why I went for figure reviews. Given that I go for a wider base, you capture the audience, and then later on, even when you occasionally bring up photography and stuff, people will still watch it anyway because they are your existing followers. I started realizing my mistake. So I started realizing the mistake where I was focusing too much on photography. When it comes to YouTube, I should try something else that will appeal to more people.
You're completely right.
So that was when I realized that was around late 2020. So my channel is actually less than 2 years old, or almost 2 years old by now. And I flood the channel with just occasional vlogs or figure reviews for a start, just to reach enough content. Then I will try to create more variety later on.
Yep, that's a good approach. That's definitely a good plan, because what I find, right, and you're completely right in what you said, was if you make your content too niche, then the audience and the appeal and people who will watch it and watch it video on video, it becomes smaller. So what you want to do is have something that has mainstream appeal, that will appeal to lots of people, even outside of the particular niche or segment, to get people aware of the channel, to see the quality, to interact with their content. And like figure reviews, for example, big community, very friendly community, very opinionated community as well. And then once they've become part of your ecosystem in terms of, subscribed or bell icon or interacting or commenting or waiting for what you're doing next, they will start to transfer and follow your other passions and areas as well, such as the photography, such as the tutorials, such as your blogs and your write-ups and stuff like that. But the establishment and the foundation of the channel, becoming fans of you, becoming friends, becoming very kind of aligned with who you are, how you present yourself, wanting to listen to your voice, that's the main thing at the beginning, to build that following, right, before you can transition and expand.
And you want to appease to the YouTube algorithm as well. You want to upload more often. So in this sense, figure reviews are a lot easier to do than tutorials, to be honest.
Yes, indeed. Makes sense. And would you find, like, when you're hitting a block, or when you've got a video that you've put a lot of effort into but isn't quite getting the impressions that you want, and it could even be on like Facebook groups, putting the video there, or Instagram or anywhere, would you go down a route of paid advertisement to just get those additional impressions, and to also make like the content exposed to an audience that's deserving to see it, to actually try to inflate and get that out there in front of people?
Okay, the thing with Facebook and Instagram advertisement is that you have to be very specific. From what I know, Facebook used to give me free money, in a sense, to be spent on advertisement, but then they used to give to me twice or thrice, so I tried it anyway. But the problem with advertisement is sometimes, no matter how specific you are with setting your target audience, you will attract unwanted stuff, especially bot accounts.
Right, I see.
So what I personally value isn't the number of likes and shares. Maybe that was the case earlier in your journey as a content creator. You are going for all the numbers. But over time, you start to realize that this engagement between you and your fans, where people actually comment things that are related, they ask you good questions, all this engagement and communication, that is the very best part of the whole content creation experience. So you see, with some pages on Facebook, they may have 6 or 7 figure followers, but then you look at the comments, it is just full of spam or unrelated comments. Bots. So I don't really want to see that. I don't want to see that on my page as well. However, you look at my Facebook page, look at the post I come up with. It can be just a meme. It can be something, actually a photography work, can be anything. And when there are comments, they are proper comments. People either joking around or asking you questions. They are actual people. This is what I want to see.
Of course. That's the dream scenario, really, and that's what you want to build up to see kind of organic growth where people are joining you from their own free will because they legitimately want to follow you. They're interested in what you want to do. They want to interact with you. A lot of the times, they even want to be friends and you know, be part of the community and network as well. I think there's definitely that is the ideal scenario. I think at the beginning, I completely understand what you mean. So the new creators, you know, they're always interested in looking at their YouTube. So, well, I've got 1 new subscriber, I've got 2 new subscribers, or I need to get my view count out so it looks like I'm getting popular or something like that. Whereas, you know, for the long-term growth, it might be good for your ego and your EP for 1 week or something. But long-term, they're not going to do you any benefit, you know. In fact, it could even be more harm because imagine like you said, right, a channel with like 10,000 subscribers and they release a new video and what? It's only got like 70 views and 1 comment. Something's not on. Something's not right. They're not really fans, or either that, or you know, it's
So obviously, Facebook, they are manipulating the things in the sense that as if you pay me some money, I reward you with some followers, something like that. But the followers are sometimes they don't feel real at all. This is what I feel. So Instagram has a very similar problem nowadays where you can gain 5 followers a day and at the same time lose 4 of them at the same time. So so when you look at your graph of following count, it's like going up and down, and I'm not even sure if Instagram is displaying your actual follower count because you're not going to count them one by one in the first place.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that led rise to I see a lot on Reddit, right? There's these channels for like new YouTuber creators and people to give advice, but there's a lot of things called sub for sub, whereas you sub for me and I'll sub for you, or you comment me and I'll comment for you. But those will never last because what really happens in reality is they might sub to you for 5 minutes, and then when you've subbed back, they'll just unsub you.
That is always a possibility. I don't really do that. I don't really go around asking or begging people for subs nowadays. I mean, it's not worth the effort. Not worth your time, not worth your effort.
Yeah. And, you know, your content kind of just has to stand alone in terms of the quality and, you know, being able to build your kind of brand and your reputation in the industry, and also you yourself as a person. Like what I find a lot of the times as well is people kind of change who they are because they want to be appealing or you know, look a certain way, and that'll never last. You can't live that life and facade forever. It's going to bring you down. It's going to be stressful. It's tiring, right? You just got to be yourself.
In terms of creating an online persona for yourself, right? For example, a very simple example, Uncle Roger. I mean, the way he speaks on Facebook, on YouTube and podcast is not necessarily how he is in real person.
He's a comedian, right?
Yes. But at the same time, in terms of the sense of humor over there, I believe there are still some similarities between the two personas, which is why they work. If you try to be something that you are not, eventually things will break apart.
Of course.
Like for example, you accidentally expose that dark side of yourself online somewhere. Something like that.
Yeah.
So the way I do my YouTube and so on, how do I put it? I don't exactly have a persona. The way I'm acting online is very similar to me in actual person. But at the same time, I have to control my language as well because between me and my friends, let's say in a private chat in Facebook Messenger, the jokes we make, they are way more offensive.
I can imagine. I can relate to that. You've got to be the best version of yourself, the most you know, humble, kind of like controlled version of the real you, right?
Yes. They are still the same kind of person, but you just control yourself a bit more.
Exactly. Because my goodness, I sometimes have a potty mouth. I can talk non-stop and things just come out right. It might be the British side of me, the sarcasm and the humour that a lot of people, you know, especially culturally, can't take that much because it's, I wouldn't say offensive. It's just, to me, it's funny, but you know, to other people, they might not be used to it. So you just have to be well behaved as yourself.
Yes.
It's a nice way to put it. So yeah, you mentioned about like Fate Grand Order as well, right? And the kind of games. What games are you playing at the moment?
A lot of people are actually surprised when I tell them I don't play the game at all.
Oh, Really? Just
yes.
a fan of the characters?
I was a fan of the concept, the Type Moon concept, where, historical characters that were being brought together in one single universe and being made to fight each other like a Royal Rumble. That's a very interesting concept. I like it a lot, and I was a fan of the original Fate Stay Night from year 2006 or so until today. Actually, I started from there, from way back. So because before all these games even existed, I was a fan of the old Fate Stay Night franchise, and until today, I kept up with everything. So when they introduce more characters, that is something I have always wished for the Fate franchise, where originally there were these 7 servants fighting a Royal Rumble, 7 or 8 of them, and then I wish there were more.
Yes.
So indeed, that is what we are getting nowadays, a lot of new characters, and I'm also the kind of person who will buy a figure solely for the character design. I don't necessarily know the character itself.
Sure.
Yeah, so I'm more of an aesthetic-oriented person. I see something very nice, beautiful, hot, or sexy, or cute.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. I'll buy it anyway, even though I know nothing about it.
Same as me. So like when I see a character, right, there's a few thought processes that come to mind, and I've talked to several people about this. So first of all, right, is it a character that you know? Is it someone that you have an attachment to, sentimental attachment to? And then you go down the lines of, what about the pose? Dynamic pose, good color scheme, good quality control. And then you go down the lines of, wow, that figure's just really cute or really sexy or really pretty. I'd like to have that. and then there's so many decisions coming in there. But when you talk about the kind of fake characters, right? Are you a fan also of like the badass cool guys? Or is it mostly the waifu, the sexy, pretty, gorgeous girls?
Yeah, 90% girls, I guess.
I love it.
Yeah, but Alter has this Gilgamesh figure coming up. I think it was on pre-order by now.
Yes.
Yeah, I will pick that one up, of course. I really like it.
Yeah.
So even though I'm going for 90% female characters, there are still exceptions.
Sure. Some badass husbandos and good men and badass characters. Yeah. I get that. But in terms of like the Fate, going back to the Fate series, regardless of if it's a girl or boy, who are your 5 favorite characters, aesthetically designed, like the ones that you really, really like?
Okay, Tosaka Rin will always be my waifu. Since day one. But if you ask me to pick servants, that would be quite difficult to be honest. Shuten Doji is one of my absolute favorites in terms of character design and of the voicing, everything. Our Yuki, right? So Shuten Doji is really my type of character, and I really put a lot of effort into photographing her. So this one right here, let me show you.
Sure. While you're bringing it up, I'm just still here. I'm just going to look for something for you. Oh, yes. I know this figure.
This one, right? Yeah. So this is also one of my own personal favorites. And I love this character, so I really put a lot of effort into making this setup.
Yeah. Capturing her essence and her beauty and her feel there, yeah. Drinking from that massive gorge. Very, very cool. Yeah, so I completely in agreement with you. I love the Fate Stay Night series and the whole Type Moon franchise, and I'm really into collecting War Scrolls at the moment. Do you have many War Scrolls?
Not really.
Yeah, so
the thing is that since budget is limited, I tend to pull most of my money into 3 things, which is the figures itself, camera equipment if needed, and 3D printers and materials and so on to make all the dioramas.
Yeah. 3D printing is something I need to talk to you about, because I've always wanted to get a 3D printer, especially because what I really want to do, right, is make some really nice bases, because a lot of the bases of characters are either really boring, plastic, or they're way too big, for what they need to be, especially for like the kind of bigger figures. So I want to get eventually into 3D printing, where I can make a really nice base for the figurines, or ones that belong together, make a combined base.
Yeah, custom bases. Mainly use 3D printers to make props to support the figure, all the diorama parts. So the problem with making a scene to photograph a figure is the scale problem.
Yes.
So for me, one of the best ways and cheapest way to do it is to buy Barbie furniture, you know. And you don't necessarily need to buy the genuine stuff. You can buy the third-party bootleg stuff if you wish. Yeah, because they are very affordable, and just repaint them, modify them. They are usually very suitable for 1x8 or 1x7 scale figures in terms of the scale itself. And when you go for more higher end diorama stuff, for example, those Hot Toys 1x6 scale Marvel DC stuff, they also have their own accessories, their own dioramas made by third parties. But those are way too large and expensive. So we have a problem with the scale aspect. So in the end, when it comes to scale issues with matching of figure with the right size of diorama, in the end, I think 3D printing is the best way to do it.
Makes sense.
Because you can resize it any way you want.
It's scalable as well, right? You have complete customization and ability to do it, and control as well, right? Because the only limit is your kind of creativity and your skill in making those printable templates. So
3D design, that is something I am a complete novice in. I'm not very good with designing. I mean, there are too many things to learn. What I usually do is to take all these existing templates or models uploaded by other people and customize them on my own. So I can modify the models, but if you ask me to design from scratch, especially for something that is more complicated or complex, that would be quite difficult for me. And I have no issues buying 3D models from other designers as well. I have no issues buying them.
Makes sense. I was thinking, one day that might be an interesting venture, because obviously now living in Japan, there's so much, attention and fanfare for the kind of anime figurine industries and whatnot, but I haven't really seen like a quality service for custom basis for some designer, some actual proper 3D template designer, someone who can make built to order what design you want for your character. Okay, it'll cost this much, I'll make it for you, I'll buy the equipment, I'll do whatever you want, you just design it, go with this, design everything.
the thing with custom 3D designs, for example, you pay someone to print something for you. Of course, you can always start a business doing that because you have the printers, but then it's not that simple because every single mistake you make is very costly.
It's true. True. You haven't got the scale.
So especially with resin. The one behind this is a resin printer.
Okay.
Resin is very expensive. We are looking at about $30 US for each kilo.
Oh, I see.
And you really can't print a lot with 1 kilogram of resin. So every single mistake you make, the cost will add up. Of course, with traditional FDM printer, those that use big rolls of plastic, that is much cheaper. For example, a kilogram of PLA plastic, that is about $15 or so. So that is much cheaper, but then you won't be able to replicate very fine details if you need it. I tend to use the traditional 3D printing to make props, but this resin printer, this is something I use only occasionally because of the cost, and only when I want to make something more detailed or organic looking. For example, you have Jeanne d'Arc Alter, also one of my favorite servants. Jeanne d'Arc Alter. And then you want to have maybe a couple of knights or soldiers accompanying her in a scenery. So we want to print a figure or a character. That would be the best to use a resin printer. But other than that, let's say furniture for diorama, you want to 3D print a kitchen set, a bedroom set, then a traditional printer, FDM printer is good enough.
Completely makes sense. Obviously, the right tool for the right job. If you want to go all out quality with the detail, you put the budget and cost into it, and then the resin one will really make it pop out. But if it's going to be kind of more low level, low design, just a prop that will to make that theme really true to nature, for example, the kitchen furniture example you put there, then the plastic one is sufficient enough.
Something geometrical. Something geometrical, rectangular, hexagonal, and so on. Not much round curves anywhere. Then a FDM printer is good enough. But you want something highly detailed, a lot of curves like a figure, then resin would be a better way to do it.
And actually, now that you say that, don't some of the actual big manufacturers in Japan I can't remember. Is it FOTS Japan or that kind of thing? They use their 3D printers.
The most notorious one, yes, FOTS Japan. I think you should know about them as well. FOTS Japan, they are kind of a joke at this point. I also make fun of them in my page sometimes. Yeah, I'm just jacking content off Reddit by other people because I don't buy FOTS Japan stuff, but it can be amusing to see them literally break apart. Yeah. I mean, 3D printing is fine and all. I mean, many other figure companies, they also do 3D printing, but usually not the entire figure. The figure is casted. Yeah, it's a casting, and then some accessories or parts. Yeah, they are 3D printed, and 3D printing is fine actually. The problem is that when the quality is not there or the durability is not there.
Yeah, indeed. And especially when you get the horror stories and the reviews, the negative reviews. My figure literally exploded on the way to me.
FOTS Japan, they are a bit like the modern version of Griffin Enterprises. I'm not sure. Yeah, I have heard of them as well, right? Yeah. But when you compare the two, I think Griffin were even better in some ways because Griffin figures don't break apart.
No, they slightly look awkward sometimes, but in terms of their durability, they are better, I think, than FOTS.
Yes.
It's always good fun to reminisce, because we're in the community, we know about these kind of stories and these kind of interesting things, whereas like a lot of maybe the newer collectors and whatnot, they won't know of the historic fun memes and jokes and things that happened in the past. Yeah, so I was just thinking on the War Scroll front, I've got quite a few in the back there, but I'm very happy as a thank you for your time to send you some of these kind of lovely Fate printed War Scrolls.
Thanks.
Nice display pieces. I think you'll go very nice. Perhaps maybe in one of your photography sessions as well. You can hang one or two of these up, and very very nice characters, some waifus in there.
Thanks a lot. Well, Heaven's Feel, one of the best anime movies ever made.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Heaven's Feel.
What did you like about it compared to the other ones?
I mean, every time we talk about Ufotable, everybody will be praising about the animation quality. Yeah, I mean, the story could be improved upon, but it is a movie, not a series, so they have limited watch time, limited screen time, understandable. But the way they make their the animation and the composition as well, they have inspired some of my photography works as well. And in fact, I have a lot of screenshots from anime made by Ufotable to be used as reference. Yeah. I think you may have seen my Saber Outer. That was from year 2020 as well. That was directly taken from the Heaven's Feel third movie.
It's very likely. I've seen a lot of your stuff already.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think it's this one over here.
Let's have a look. You're right. Heaven's Feel and Unlimited Blade works are always well spoken of in the Fate metaverse. Yes, I've seen this one. Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's quite obvious, and it looks a bit like a 3D artwork, but no, this is a photography work, and all of the floating rocks, they are real.
Wow.
Yeah, they are being suspended with skewers, and those rocks, they are actually styrofoam.
Yeah. Styrofoam really imitates the rock effect really well, so it's definitely good usage of the prop.
Yeah.
No, yes. I love that, man. I think it's quite inspirational because obviously, you see the figure, you see the generic figure, but when you can prop them up in a picture, it becomes a kind of like centerpiece, an heirloom that you can always refer back to, and it's something unique and stands out, right? Everyone can just take a figure and take a picture of a figure on its own, but to put it in its actual environment and to make it pop and effect, that is something that you own the intellectual property, you created it, or props go to you, and all recognition and kind of praise go to you as well. So it must feel kind of good when people compliment your work and give you kind of feedback on all the effort you put in.
It in the sense that that you are doing something right when a lot of people are praising it. So I actually sent my photographs to a few friends who are either figure or doll photographers, sure. BJD Dolls, yeah. Dolphy Dream. Yeah, I actually share some of my work with them in private, and then I'm asking for criticism, asking for feedback. So sometimes you can't see your own mistakes. Other people can see it.
Yeah, that's a good perspective. You know, you need to be open to constructive criticism, because that's the only way you can improve and get better and really kind of perfect your art, right? And with your peers who are also master photographers, that to me is a great attitude, because a lot of people really, they do something good and like this is the best, right? There's no way to improve it. I'm really happy with this, but actually everything can be improved somewhat. I mean, it's already high standard, high quality, don't get me wrong, but
yes,
you know.
my personal motto is that there is no such thing as good enough.
Yeah, you can always get better, yes.
There's no such thing as good enough. So of course the biggest critic for my own work is myself. Yeah.
Sure, that's a good way to put it. That's a good perspective to have, you know. You're happy with the output, but never be completely satisfied. There's always room for improvement, and that what keeps you drive, you know, that keeps you motivated, right?
Yes, correct. Yep.
Yeah. And on that front as well, your new studio is in production at the moment, right? I'm really excited to hear about that.
In fact, it is almost ready. Just that I need to sort things out, because there are a lot of boxes of stuff which I have not categorized them and arranged them on the shelf. It's more about sorting things out now.
Sure.
I mean, the renovation and lighting, air conditioning, everything is complete. It's all about managing all the stuff that I have transported over there. Yeah.
Is it close by? Is it close by to where you are now? Or?
Yeah, it's 10 minutes away.
Okay, it's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Very convenient. Yeah, I'm going to do exactly the same as you. So post this call, I'm going to show you around this little office. Considering how much stuff I've got in here, this is the smallest spaced office for the amount of goods, probably all of Japan, if not all of the world. I've got way too many. I've got no floor space at the moment to do anything. But
considering you moved to Japan, I mean, did you manage to find a house or a space big enough for yourself for all this stuff? Yeah.
So that's the thing, right? So like, I can't buy a house until I've got permanent right to remain, and I do have the chance to apply for it later. So we've got a flat, like the family flat, about 5 minutes from here. So I had to rent out this other apartment for my day-to-day kind of working job for Salesforce. I've set up nice 5 monitor setup here, so I've got all my work things, all my tech gear, and then all my figures and stock. I've literally been buying it for the last 6 to 10 years, and I sent it over to storage in Japan and to my in-laws' house and to relatives' houses. And I thought, bit by bit, go to Japan, empty suitcase, bring it back to the UK. Go to Japan, bring it to the UK. And then we decided we're going to move to Japan. So when I went to I had to bring it back from the UK to Japan, but also everything I loaded into my in-laws' house and everything, they said, okay, you've got to take it back now. You've got to bring it back. And I've got a small apartment. So I can't even walk in the door without like box, shelf. And, but when I get a house, it'll be sorted.
Yeah. So you see, this is the issue where, the first issue is your limited budget, where in my case especially, I need to spend on things that are not just figures, all the camera stuff, because these cameras, they are quite expensive.
Yes.
I started back in year 2014, where I bought my first DSLR by Nikon. That was a D5200. That was about 500 in today's currency. That'll be about $500, which is fairly entry level. But I built my reputation with the entry level camera. And only upgraded to a professional model in 2017. So now I'm using this D850. This D850, this is a $3,000 camera, and that is the body only.
Yes, that's
We're not talking. And it's not we are not talking about lenses yet.
The body.
So the amount I've spent on cameras, in short, and the lenses and so on, can buy a car with that. So all this money could have went to figures, to be honest. And I would, but then to me, as I mentioned earlier, my priority isn't the sheer number of figures, because I need tools to create content and share it with everyone on the beauty of these figures. So I had to distribute my budget.
You're completely right. So you have made a lot of decisions that I have yet to make. So for example, when I was collecting these figures, obviously my tastes and budget changed significantly over the last 6 to 10 years, and therefore a lot of the figures I had in storage in Japan, for me now, I still like a lot of them, but a lot of them are kind of like not the top of my favorite lists or whatnot, but I still want to make the content for it, review it. I want to take photographs of it. I want to expose it and talk about them and put them with the other characters and even the newer released characters of the set. But eventually, my kind of idea is I've enjoyed a lot of them to date so far, and I've got way too much stuff. But for people who support the channel via Patreon or any other means, my kind of way of giving back to the community and also benefiting myself and everyone else is, okay, you're going to sign up to a particular patron tier to support the channel, but I'm not going to be like other channels where, you know, support the channel, donate. I'm literally saying, you support the channel, you know, with whatever means you can, and you choose something, anything, any good that I have, you know, that I'm willing to give away, and I will send it to you as a thank you for supporting the channel. So for me, in the short term, it might be a loss financially to me because the figure itself is of value, the figure or whatever else, War Scroll, Music Box. I'm sending it to you, right? So that's going to cost me money again, in the hope that if I show you a little love in the short term, long term, you'll continue to support the channel, and in a way we'll kind of break even, right? So it's not about finance really. It's about me giving you something that will hopefully make you happy, and you supporting the channel, which will allow me to continue making a brand and making a product and making a service. So that's the kind of overall plan. Yeah,
which brings back to my point earlier on engagement. So you need to engage with your fans, with your audience. I think that's the best way to do things. A lot of my best friends over here, they are friends that I met online. And it does not matter how long it takes, a month, a year, 5 years, when you eventually meet your online friends, you'll find out that those are among your best friends you can have, compared to your own local workplace colleagues or even your college batchmates and so on. Because in life, friends come and go. Most friends, they are not permanent, but those that you make online, they tend to last way longer.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. This is the first time that we've talked, but we completely connect, we completely vibe and flow, we can talk very easily, you know, we haven't scripted or planned anything. I found it very, very enjoyable, so I completely agree with that statement. Obviously, you're a good friend of mine now, because we've just spent the last hour talking about our hobbies and our passions, and on a final note, I have a Sony A6400, so mirrorless camera, for the, do I have it with me? Let me have a look.
That's one of the best-selling mirrorless cameras today.
Yes, indeed. So, at the moment, a lot of my things, I'm just using this for the moment. So I've just got a Dai-T shoot mic on top of it, and
shotgun mic.
Yes. And the lens I'm using right now is a G marked 418 to 105, because I can walk around Japan and zoom in a lot and capture a lot of the beauty of Miyazaki, the rivers and whatnot. But for portrait photography, so like people and figures, what is the lens that I want on here? What is the next lens I need to plan for?
Okay, so my question here is, the figures you'll be photographing will be fairly large, right? Like 1x8 or bigger, right? They are not Figmas or Nandoroids.
Yeah, no, not Figmas and Nandoroids. 1 to 8 or 1 to 4.
Yeah. Okay, so I would love to recommend you prime lenses. Prime lenses are basically lenses that they don't zoom in. It's a fixed focal length. For example, a 50mm 1.8.
Let's have a look.
Yeah.
I have something. I have. Bear with me a second.
Yeah.
So I'm still an amateur photographer, by the way, but I did. When I had a bonus at work one time, I decided what will be the thing. You know, you have a bonus, unexpected, it comes out, it's a one-off. You need to buy something luxury, right? And you know, lenses are very expensive. So I did end up buying some lenses here, just because I wanted to take some nice photos of my wife. that was the primary one. So the two these are prime lenses, right? So I have a 1.8 35mm optical steady shot.
Oh, that works as well.
And a 1.8 50mm.
Yep. These two, they are fairly inexpensive.
Yes,
and the photographs they produce, they will be much sharper than your all-in-one zoom lens, the 18 to 105.
Right.
You see, so the thing with zoom lenses versus prime lenses, right? This very topic. The thing with zoom lenses is that they offer you convenience, versatility, where you can do anything with it, can photograph all kind of things. But because the lens has such a wide zoom range, no matter what millimeter you are at 18, at 50, at 105, they are not optimized. The lens is optimized in such a way that it should perform above average at every single focal length that you choose. But not one single focal length is. They are not at their best.
Not best in class.
So yes, correct. So with prime lenses, because it is a fixed focal length, so these optical designers, they can optimize the lens in such a way that it performs at well enough at this one single focal length. So it is easier to optimize the performance, which is why when you look at the quality in terms of the sharpness of the images you get, as well as the background blur,
Yes,
the bokeh. Yeah, the prime lenses tend to have a smoother and more creamy smooth bokeh. They are more pleasant to look at. Yeah, compared to zoom lenses. Zoom lenses are, especially when you have trees or any plants in the background, sometimes the leaves, the out of focus trees and tree branches, leaves and so on, they tend to look a bit busy.
Okay.
They are not that smooth. They look a bit busy or a bit distracting. Yeah. So for figure photography, I have been exclusively using prime lenses.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And in terms of prime lenses, though, obviously these are of the cheaper variant. They still are prime lenses, the 30 and the 50. But let's say, for example, I could only choose a significant big spend to be the one that I'm going to use permanently. What's the margin? What's the biggest difference between the 30mm I got right now and the really expensive 30mm, or the 50mm and the really expensive 50mm primes? What's the big difference between that?
Okay. Of course, we are talking about diminishing returns over here, where some people are unable to justify. For example, you pay double or triple for a more expensive version of the same focal length, but you get an increase of maybe 30% in sharpness. You're not going to get 3 times as much sharpness. So we are looking at diminishing returns. But at the same time, these are higher quality professional glass. For one, they are weather resistant. They my camera, for example, my camera and my lens, I take it to the waterfall.
Very nice.
And the whole thing is drenched in water, dripping in water, and they work fine. So these are the things you pay for: the reliability, the durability, weather sealing. That's one. And second thing, when it comes to image quality itself, of course, this is something you usually see when you zoom in the image, not on the full screen, but you actually zoom in to inspect the image. There is something called chromatic aberration, or we call it CA. Okay. So CA is something, it is basically color fringing. When you take a photograph against a bright background, for example, a silhouette, right?
Yes.
A silhouette, you have 3 branches with sunlight behind. In this kind of scenarios, when you zoom in, you can see that at the border of those 3 branches, you will see some weird colors, usually magenta, purple, or green color outline on the 3 branches. That is what we call chromatic aberration, CA. It is something we photographers really dread looking at. Because even though let's say you post the image online on Facebook or Instagram, that is not an issue usually because the resolution is not very high. But when you print your images in large prints, A3, A2 size, those things are really an eyesore, is very obvious. So we photographers really hate chromatic aberration. So with these expensive lenses, they tend to have less or completely none of that problem.
Sure. So at the finest margin, the finest details, you can really you can see the value of it. But as you mentioned, right, you're paying nearly triple the price, and it's heavy as well, the weight, for something that with your photographer's eye, you will notice, and just to the end user, they may or may not notice, but that is a better quality image. So from what I'm getting there, the train of thought is I should master the lenses I've got at the moment, know what I'm looking for in the picture, and only when I've outgrown the lenses, then consider an upgrade, because they're still great lenses, right? So the prime lenses,
That's correct. You need to master what you have, and then once you have gotten so good that what is limiting you from getting better are your own gear, your own camera gear. That is when you upgrade. For example, with this is a Nikon 40mm f2. This is very affordable lens. This is about $250.
Sure.
$230 to $250, 40 f2. I use this a lot for videos actually because it is lightweight and lightweight. 40 and 50, not too much difference, but they work for figures as well. And then for the photography, I use for my dioramas, right? Yeah, I use Sigma 50mm f1.4. Yeah, this one over here.
Sure.
Yeah, this is a 51.4. I think for Sony there is a Zeiss ZA55 1.4. I think that is also fairly expensive. Yeah. But these two are different lenses in the sense that this 40f2, this is a mirrorless lens. This is a DSLR lens. They are different. Yeah. And I have actually another 50mm which I just bought back in April this year.
Okay.
That is possible. This is an exotic in a sense. This mirrorless lens, this is 51.2. Yeah. f1.2, this is $2,000.
Big boy lens.
It is just an amazing lens. I haven't been using it much yet because eventually the DSLR that I'm using, I'm waiting for Nikon to make something new and then I'll upgrade to that new mirrorless model.
Yeah, I heard that a lot in terms of, the mirrorless is the way to go nowadays. It's the current technology, isn't it? It's state of the art.
Because it's state of the art. That's one thing. Because DSLRs, they still take perfectly good pictures.
Yes.
The difference is just the technology, but the sensor behind the sensor that captures the images, they are more or less very similar. So in a sense that if you have very limited budget, then the best way to do things to buy a camera is to go for pre-owned DSLR cameras. This is where you find value because mirrorless is all the craze nowadays. So people are selling off their DSLRs to go mirrorless, and their market value are going down. So this is the ideal time for those on the budget to buy a used DSLR, including their lenses, because the value is much lower nowadays.
Yeah, makes sense because they still do a really good job. It's just for the photography enthusiasts. Obviously, they're wanting to upgrade, but you might find a bargain because they're trying to shift their gear to afford the newer stuff and obviously the lenses that come with the newer camera. Yep. That is a great point.
For me, something that I use very regularly, I will buy new, but lenses that I use only occasionally, I would buy used myself. My wide-angle lenses like this Tamron 15-30, this is with an adapter for mirrorless. This lens is about 900 or 1,000 if bought new, but I got it for half price used.
Yeah.
And it has been serving me for the past 3 or 4 years very well. So this is what we call value.
Of course, great return on investment.
Yeah.
Great return on investment. Yeah. I hear you. Yeah, man, it's been so fun to talk. I mean, I need to absorb. I need to look this back and absorb all the information and lessons. There must be some real treasures in this whole the talk we went through because I need to up my photography game. Time permitting, I'm in the perfect place. Miyazaki is absolutely beautiful as well, so I'm looking forward to upping my photography game. The people are lovely. Get some portrait photography as well. The figurines, I need to get some pictures and some nice things as well. And I'm sure me and you will collaborate a lot in the future. We got a lot of similar interests, so really looking forward to
Sure.
And
sure, no problem.
Yeah, thank you so much for attending the podcast. It's been really enlightening, and I'm sure everyone will really enjoy as well. And any final thoughts? Any final words?
Final words. What shall I say? Yeah, it was. I think this is a really enjoyable podcast to talk with you. I mean, especially here in my hometown, there aren't many people with a similar interest as me. I mean, you can find figure collectors everywhere, but both photography and figure collector, that is a bit more niche.
Yes, indeed.
So it is always great to speak to someone with a very similar interest. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I thoroughly enjoyed it as well. And, it's a reminder to everyone, the best figure photography, as you completely heard, he knows what he's talking about. EXKurogane, links in the description below. So we will speak very soon, Stephen, and take care. Have a good day.
All right, have a good day to you soon.
I cannot believe we've already reached 5 patron milestones, and as agreed, I will buy my first resin statue or make an original song about being the greatest weeb in the world, baby! Even though I can't sing. I'll release a video that was never meant to be seen the day that I got a free wisdom tooth taken out and I couldn't even talk properly, but it'll come out. This is a big one. I'm going to hire an editor. He's going to help me get through my backlog. Quality lad is Gear Bear. He's going to help me out. Watch for the quality vids coming out soon. I'll release my own line of Miyazaki Man merch just for you guys, especially the Mushroom Boy and Mamacita Maimi. Triple me as well. Something Miyazaki Man too, why not? almost there with the next milestone. I'll interview at least one patron every month on the Miyazaki Man Podcast, hopefully released in schedule as well. Special thanks to Ultimate Sakura, Zygor Gaming, Gaming Shelf, Tendai, Craig Coates, Sophia P, Mark Bean, Sufficient Yoga, Ash W, Master Yao, Alex M, James Y, Don P, King Blue Diamond T, Kobin, Mark C, Trey, and Suntan Superman. Your support keeps me going, keeps me alive, makes me thrive. Thank you so much, guys. Peace. Miyazaki Man, Ichiban.